What are you doing now?
Oh yeah, we're talking about
What's
my
your gig?
comedy career.
Yeah, well,
So
kinda ish. We're weaving around it, but that's fun. Yeah,
yeah,
so tell us
and
what are you up to? What you doing now? You
so
still doing
now
comedy?
I'm doing a tour, a multiple city tour. It's actually called the Domestic Terrorist Tour
Okay.
because there's
Domestic terrorist.
yes, because there's so many dumb people on the internet who think just because you were in DC on January 6th means you were part of the insurrection.
Just
People are
because
dumb.
if you were in DC.
Yeah, yeah. People don't know the difference between like being at an event, covering it, doing interviews, and
Oh my
being and
gosh.
trying to like crack
Yeah.
open a window.
Yeah, it's
People are
all the
dumb.
same now.
But anyway, it's like that's what the clowns and the people who don't like you are always gonna like,
Always.
use
Always.
something against you. Whatever. I'm not a victim. Anyway, domestic terrorist tour. So many wonderful dates coming up. Morris Plains, New Jersey. That's and a lot of these shows are comedians of the Compound shows that
Okay.
I'll do with my friend Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconti, all the other comedians at Compound Media. And
Okay.
then I'm headlining the Boca Black Box Theater April 30th. And then May 1st is the Lake Park Black Box Theater in Palm Beach, Florida. May 2nd is Side Splitters. And then May 9th, Oklahoma City is the Bricktown. And then May 14th and 15th is Austin, Texas. That's Comedians of the Compound too.
Cool.
And then Zany's in Nashville on the 18th, Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama, the 19th, and then Hilarities in Cleveland on June 3rd. And I think I'm actually going to be in Wilmington, Delaware, a little earlier in April too. I think the 23rd and 24th. It's called the House of Laughs with two
Yeah.
Fs. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be like touring again because I had this big tour for last year. It was going to be like March through May. I did the first date in LA and then like everything shut down.
Yeah.
Like, you were there. So
I saw everything locked down. Yeah, how was that too? I mean, like how did that go? Like what did you do with yourself? Like,
I
obviously you have a podcast
masturbated.
now.
No, it was good. I mean, it was actually a really nice break because that
Yeah.
is when I started my podcast last January, but it was just like a once a weeker, and
Oh, okay.
then the
So
lockdown happened.
before the lockdown.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
really cranked it up during the lockdown. I decided in May that I was going to go 4 times a week.
Nice.
And I've kept it up since then. And then I love it. And it's allowed me to talk to like so many interesting people and like former Abercrombie models, like just the most interesting folks.
How'd you get that guy?
Sheer luck, I just send a lot of nudes.
I mean, you just did Tara Reid was on your show. You got
Yes.
cat turd, famous Twitter cat turd.
Cat turd
That's cool.
It was great. I had no idea that I did not expect him to be like a man with a Southern accent. I just I didn't know what I expected, but
yeah, what to do, right?
yeah. And
Cool.
he and the whole time I was like, not sneakily trying to get him to reveal himself, but he'd be like, oh, I was part of this band in the 80s. And I'm like, oh, which one? He's such a mysterious guy. Yeah.
Well, because it's a cat with, a cat turd. He's kind of famous on the Twitter work.
Trump retweeted him. He's like, I think he's got a lot of high caliber people in his DMs, but he's not bragging about it. And he was raised poor, which I think gives people a lot of character.
True.
Like I thought I was raised poor, and then I realized it's just Long Island poor, which means no pool, no maid.
But you had a nice upbringing, and life was good.
Life was good. Yeah. I mean, my dad threw a chair at me once. Other than that, it was great. He missed. Anyway, more dates now.
Anyway, back to who else have you done? You've been doing this podcast for over a year now.
The podcast has been great.
It's great.
Probably biggest guest was Roger Stone.
Cool. Wow, I didn't know you had Roger Stone on. Nice.
Probably biggest guest that people dislike, like Ann Coulter, Gavin McInnes.
Wow, you had some big names so far.
Cernovich. Awesome. Yeah. Cernovich was probably like my first bigger guest, and I was like, oh wow. I still feel that way. There's still like,
he's a big
I still
player.
have that oh wow feeling, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Talking to people that I love and I bring so much meaning into the world and like are so smart. But it's good. I like having kind of like regular conversations with people, and it's been such a blessing, like I wouldn't have like really gotten so deep into this podcast if it weren't for the pandemic. So in a way it's good. And as far as stand-up went, there were throughout this last spring and summer, there were like backyard shows, a lot of secret shows because like comedy's been like illegal in New York this whole time in Jersey. So we just have to be sneaky about it and
Yeah.
like, oh, it's called a podcast recording or it's called it's golf or
Yeah.
it's a dinner.
It's
So
golf. That's
yeah.
funny.
Do you
So
like
how was
comedy?
I love comedy. I actually tried I had my hand in improv as well. I did,
Ooh.
in Chicago, there's this place called Second City. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you
Mm-hmm.
have because 'cause you're in the improv world, and, I used to go down with a couple of my buddies, and we would there was I think they did like a anyone can kind of walk up on stage, when they were like, "Hey, who wants to come on up?" And everyone would they'd be like, "All right, you and you," and then they would pick people, and a couple times I got up on stage and just made a fool of myself, but it was fun. It's exhilarating to be on stage, and this was before I actually was a musician
Oh
and
wow.
learned to love being on stage because that came in my early 20s, and this was my late teens.
Oh, you were a
I
baby.
was like 18 doing this, and 19. I don't even know if I was allowed to even go into this place because there was a bar, but I mean this was I mean 19 no, when was this? Like 2002 to 2003, like bartender or there was no bouncers at every door back then, like
Yeah.
it felt like a different time. You only got ass ID when at the bar if the bartender was like,
Yeah.
you look a little young, like let me see your ID. So, but I had fun. It was a lot of fun, and I was terrible at it, and I didn't make anyone laugh.
Do you remember like what games you
That's what I
played or do
remember.
you remember what they had you do?
Um, yeah, one thing that sticks out is I was supposed to be drunk, and like everyone there was a card that you would pull, and it was like, you had to be drunk and in the middle of the day or something, and like
Sounds
that
easy.
was it was it was
I was
easy.
that earlier today. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No wonder you were late. Um,
Hello.
no, but it was fun, and I remember it being a lot harder because I was sitting there watching people and laughing and thinking it was fun and looked easy. Like I could do this. Like, sure, yeah, why not? And then I found myself on stage, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is way more difficult. And I don't know. It wasn't. I thought it would have been smoother, and I'm glad I didn't have to see it. I'm glad no one recorded it because I was a nobody, and yeah, it was funny.